there, this is Tata, and welcome to Rangers of Wrestling. And for today, I will be reviewing Friday Night Smackdown and AEW Rampage. But for today, I'm going to be doing Smackdown first and then Rampage because I want to talk about that Bray Wyatt promo. So, Bray Wyatt, they advertised him as it was his big return to SmackDown, and it did not disappoint. He had piano music, and it was type of like a rock song. I didn't recognize the song, so if anybody knows the name of the song, please let me know in the comments. And there was welcome back chants, and then he had this very passionate, very emotional promo. I honestly feel like that it wasn't Bray Wyatt talking, it was Wyndham Rotunda that was talking, because you felt his passion, you felt the emotion, like you could tell he meant every one of it. So he comes out and he says that he's going to introduce us to a version of himself he never got to introduce before. And he said that this past year he lost a lot of things, his career, his self-confidence, to people who were very close to him, and that he lost his way. And he said that it got to a point where he thought it was all meaningless, and once he was done feeling sorry for himself, like people would come up to him and say, when is he coming home? And those people would come to him and thank him, and that they were all in a time of need and lost their self-confidence, and that they tell him that they saved his life. And then he thanks the crowd and that we saved his life. So it was very emotional, very like heartfelt, passionate. You felt it. Like I'm telling you, that probably wasn't Bray Wyatt talking. That was Wyndham Rotunda talking. At least that's how I interpret it. But then something happened. Like this figure came on the Screw Titantron. It was the same figure that was at Extreme Rules with that mask. Now, it kind of reminds me of the movie The Black Phone. I'm not sure if anybody's seen that movie with Ethan Hawke, but that mask reminds me of that movie. And they said that, come with me, forget the future and the past, and then it kind of just ends with that, and SmackDown ends on a cliffhanger. So it was an interesting way to end SmackDown, if you ask me. I think this is the first time in a long, long time that SmackDown ends on a cliffhanger, but I was actually very intrigued by this because I want to know, where is this going? Like, we hear so much about the Wyatt Six. So does that mean it's referring to a stable featuring 6 members and Bray Wyatt? Or is it like his 6 different personalities that he's had? There's rumors of Bo Dallas is coming back. I know Vincent and Dutch from Ring of Honor, the group The Righteous, were backstage on Raw, and WWE trademarked Uncle Howdy, Uncle Harper. So I'm very curious what all this is going to lead to. Okay, so according to Dave Meltzer, in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE has plans for the group from now through April 2023. So that probably takes us up to WrestleMania. Meltzer wrote, there are all kinds of speculation regarding the identities of the Wyatt Six group. There is also said to be a long-term plan for the group up to WrestleMania. So I'm very curious to see what that plan is and where all this is going to eventually lead to. But I'm very intrigued by everything surrounding Bray Wyatt right now. So great way to end SmackDown. But now let's rewind and recap how SmackDown actually started. So SmackDown started with a car wreck. It was Karrion Kross and Sky were involved in the car wreck, and Drew McIntyre was just like beating the tar out of Kross. Like he was banging his head on that sidecar, and he just totally banged up Karrion Kross. And Karrion Kross was scheduled for a fatal 4-way to determine Gunther's #1 contender. So the opening contest ends up being Sami Zayn versus Kofi Kingston. And now with this, and it's so funny because prior to start of the match, we cut backstage and we see that Jay and Solo Sikoa are backstage with Sami Zayn. Jay saying that Jimmy couldn't be there because he was handling family business. Sami tries to entreat as to what it was because he would know about it. And so then Sami's phone rings and it's Roman who wants to speak to Jay. And you guys remember, Jay did not do what Roman asked, which was to help Sami Zayn win on Raw. So Roman was not going to be too happy. So Jay still has to help Sami win this match. So he goes out there, and we also learned that the Usos are actually 30 days away from tying the New Day's record, which is 483 days. So this match was a good match. This match was supposed to add to the ongoing friction or the ongoing storyline between Jay Uso and Sami Zayn. And this match, it does exactly that because Jay causes a distraction. Now, he ultimately kicks Kofi Kingston while he's pinning Sami and reverses it so that Sami Zayn pins Jay. Now, Sami Zayn, of course, is happy And this actually plays on to a segment later on in the night, which I'm going to go ahead and talk about. So Sami Zayn goes backstage with Jey Uso and Solo Sikoa, and Jey Uso tells him, "You're welcome." And Sami's saying that doesn't know what he's talking about, that he did that all by himself. And so Solo Sikoa says that he didn't see Jey help Sami because he was focusing on Sami. Sami says Solo can learn a lot from him. And so my question is, if Sami Zayn didn't see Jey help him and Solo Sikoa didn't see Jey help him, does that mean Jey actually helped Sami? I guess we have to wait and see. So I'm actually really liking this. Like it's adding to the storyline. Poor Jey. Like he finally helped Sami Zayn and Sami Zayn doesn't even acknowledge it. All right. So after that match, we actually get a Rey Mysterio segment and he approaches Triple H. He basically is talking about how like he can't bring himself to beat up Dominic. I mean, we're Latino, okay? He needs to hit Dominic with the chancla, for Christ's sakes. That thing never misses. Never misses, I mean. And so he basically, the whole point of this is that he wants to quit, and Triple H tries to prevent Rey by quitting. And he gets offered a deal, which we'll find out later on in the night. So we have a 2-on-1 handicap match. It's Braun Strowman versus James Maverick and Brian Thomas, local talent. The only thing I can say about this, it's a squash match. That's all you need to know. But honestly, the important part is what happens after. Okay, so Almost was watching Braun Strowman's match, and he comes out to the ring, and MVP says that he gives credit where credit is due, and that standing next to Almost, Braun Strowman looks normal. Okay, so I'm not surprised this is happening. I knew this was going to happen the minute Braun Strowman came back. We're going to have Braun Strowman versus Almost when? Probably Crown Jewel. I don't know if this match is going to be probably one of these worst matches ever, or this might actually be somewhat of a decent match. I think Braun Strowman would beat Almost, and I think Almost is pretty much done for in this match because Almost was a Vince McMahon project, and I think that Braun Strowman is probably going to annihilate him. I expect something to happen. I expect the ring to break, maybe. Something like that's going to happen. They're going to gimmick that ring probably. But I'm not really looking forward to this match. I don't think anybody is, but I'm sure it's going to probably be, it's going to have a mixed reaction. Let's go with that. So very quickly, we have a backstage segment with Roxanne Perez, and she's basically picks Raquel Rodriguez to be Cora Jade's opponent, and Bayley gets offended by this, and she's going to pick Bayley, but she's not on the winning streak. And so this is when we get that Bloodline segment that I talked about earlier. It's pretty much, again, Jey and Sami, Jey saying to Sami that he helped him, and Sami saying not realizing that Jey actually did help him and takes credit by doing it all by himself. So then we get LA Knight versus Mansoor, or Mansoor, I should say. And this match was pretty much all about LA Knight. Now, despite the distraction for Mansoor, it didn't work. LA Knight hitting the BFT to Mansoor, and so LA Knight is victorious. And then he cut the promo saying that he pretty much tells the crowd, "I didn't do that for you." He doesn't need a bunch of insults, and he's putting everybody's on notice, and it's LA Knight's game. So LA Knight is officially back after he was originally Max Dupree. And it's a good thing that LA Knight is back. I think he was just unfathomed that he was Max Dupree and he had to be a manager when he was so very talented, clearly. We get Damage Control versus Shotzi, Raquel Rodriguez, and Roxana Perez. They all come out on Shotzi's tank, which I think is pretty cool. Now, I have to really talk about Roxanne Perez. And very impressive, honestly. For as young as she is, she could hang on the main roster. She doesn't even need NXT. She was so impressive in this match, especially against Bayley. Wow, it doesn't surprise me at all. She did a hurricanrana to Bayley. If anything about this match you need to see, it's Roxanne Perez. She is so impressive. And I'm not surprised Damage Control wins. We get a Viking Raiders promo, and it seems like Sarah Logan is on her way back, because that's what it seems like to me. She was in that video. You couldn't see her face, but you saw the back. All right, so this next match, Legado del Fantasma, in the form of Joaquín, Wilde, and Cruz del Toro versus Hit Row. So I was actually kind of looking forward to this match because I really wanted to see Legado del Fantasma on the main roster. But this match didn't do anything for me. I hate to say that. I really do. And, as a Latina, especially a Latina of Mexican descent, it always warms my heart to see Latino talent be showcased. So I was really looking forward to that because I really wanted to see Legado de Fantasma in action. But this match really didn't do anything for me, unfortunately. It didn't do anything for Hit Row, and I feel like it didn't do anything for Legado de Fantasma. It just was not a good match. I don't know if that was the way it was because of the way it was booked. It wasn't because of the talent. It didn't do anything for Legado, and it didn't do anything for Hit Row. No, I didn't like this match, unfortunately. I'm hoping if they do have an exit counter, it's a lot better than this, but I didn't like this match. It's probably my least favorite part of SmackDown. So we get a Sonya Deville segment, and the whole point of this is that Liv Morgan is basically like gone bonkers after Extreme Rules. Like, she attacked Sonya Deville because she was pretty much talking bad about her. And she jumps off this equipment onto Sonya Deville. So our main event is the Fatal 4-Way match to determine number one contender for Gunther's Intercontinental title. And it is Ricochet versus Sheamus versus Solo Sikoa versus Karrion Kross. Well, it was originally supposed to include Karrion Kross, but as commentary said, he was unable to compete due to injuries sustained earlier from that car accident. And so he was replaced by Rey Mysterio. So the deal that Triple H made with Rey Mysterio is that to get him away from Dominic, he's officially moved to SmackDown, and Rey Mysterio started his career on SmackDown. So it's great. So it's great to see Rey back on SmackDown. And now I kind of wonder, are we ever I don't think we're gonna get a conclusion to that storyline with Dominic, or maybe this is the conclusion. But I honestly thought it was gonna lead to a match between the two of them, where it was probably gonna be the career, or maybe that would eventually it would probably be like Rey's retirement match or something. If Rey wins, Dominic, I don't know, turns face and aligns himself with again, or if Dominic wins and Rey retires. I thought there was going to be something along those lines. I could be wrong, or who knows, I could be right. I don't know. My favorite spots in this match, oh my god, Rey Mysterio and Ricochet. Oh my god, they were incredible. Incredible. Favorite spots, if you ask me. And the commentary does make note that this is the first time Sheamus and Rey have wrestled each other. They've actually never wrestled each other. I don't know why. So I want to see more Rey Mysterio versus Ricochet. And there was this one spot where Ricochet attacked Solo Sikoa and Rey attacked Sheamus. Now, I was surprised that Rey Mysterio actually won this. He won it with the frog splash, Viva la Raza. Because it's still technically Hispanic Heritage Month. It ends on the 16th, so I love that he did that. And Rey Mysterio wins, and I think this is going to be the first time ever Rey Mysterio and Gunther go at it. And I hate to say this because I like Rey Mysterio, but he's going to get murdered. He's going to get massacred by Gunther. I mean, one chop and he's probably going to go down. And so after that, we get the Bray Wyatt promo. I talked about this at the beginning, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it again briefly. Basically, I felt like this was a very emotional, heartfelt promo, and I thought this was Wendell Rotunda talking and not Bray Wyatt. He came out with piano music and rock music, which I thought was fantastic. And it basically, SmackDown ended on a cliffhanger, and I'm very intrigued and curious to see where this leads to Bray Wyatt. But with that being said, that concludes the SmackDown review. I would have to give SmackDown, honestly, probably an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 because I just did not like the whole Legado de Fantasma versus Hit Row match. The handicap match you could have done without, but I get why they did it. What was the whole purpose of that? Was to set up a Braun Strowman versus Omos. All right, so now let's talk about AEW Rampage. Rampage kicked off with incredible tag team action. It was the Butcher and the Blade versus Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli. This match was incredible. And Jon Moxley and Claudio really worked well together. The bunny tried to cause distraction, but that didn't work in her favor. I really, really like that Jon Moxley did the lariat to Blade, and then Claudio did a lariat to Butcher. Claudio hits Butcher with the Ricola Bomb, and Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli end up winning this. And they basically end with the promo with them saying, if you step up, you're going to get stepped on. And Hangman Adam Page was watching this. I'm pretty sure that was directed to him. So we get a backstage segment with Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee. And basically, Swerve Strickland welcomes Renee to AEW. And Keith Lee kind of starts to question Swerve Strickland, saying says that when do they need to cheat to beat anybody? And that all this nonsense means nothing. And that Swerve Strickland is swerving into the wrong lane. Pun intended, probably. So this is actually pretty interesting because it seems like now they're setting up for Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland to break up. You know, they had those miscommunications during some other tag matches where Swerve Strickland accidentally hit Keith Lee. Or was it really an accident? So then we get a quick backstage segment with the Dark Order. And again, they're approached by Jose the Assistant, who they've been trying to poach President 10 Vance this entire time. And pretty much 10 tells Jose the Assistant that if he beats Rush next week, they leave him alone for good. And guess who makes a surprise appearance? Stu Grayson making an appearance. I don't think he's come back to AEW, as I haven't seen any reports of him being back. But it doesn't surprise me that Stu Grayson did come. They were in Toronto, Canada, and Stu Grayson is from Quebec, Canada, so it makes perfect sense that he was there, even if it was just for one night. We get the Jericho Appreciation Society, and we finally get an explanation from Daniel Garcia as to why he did what he did to Bryan. He basically said that he was being rebellious, and every time he needed to be a pro wrestler, and that he makes note that Jericho has always said sports entertainers are superior. He said that Bryan is his hero and he taught him a lot about heart, guts, and a fighting spirit. But that when Jericho hit him in the head with the title, it taught him how to win. And that's when he realized that sports entertainers beat pro wrestlers every single time. And he makes the ultimate confession. He says that he is a sports entertainer. So Chris Jericho basically says that it was a lesson that Garcia needed to learn, and it was a lesson that was taught to Bryan Danielson. He said he will continue to beat every Ring of Honor champion that's ever existed. And guess who comes out? None other than Dalton Castle. He basically cuts a promo saying that to see that title around Jericho's waist, a stupid, naive little silly goose makes him sick. He says that he broke his back for that title and he's willing to break Jericho's for that title. He wants to give everybody what they deserve, a champion they can be proud of. And he says he has the power of the peacock, pumping peacock power into the building. And the energy in the room is fueled by the electricity in his veins. And the lights stay on because his heart beats and will shock Jericho's face right off his body. I'm surprised Homeboy didn't say Mark Wahlberg's line from the other guys. He said, he's a peacock. You got to let him fly. Because that's how I thought he was going with this. If anybody's ever seen the movie The Other Guys, Mark Wahlberg plays a character, Detective Terry, and he's always talking about how he's a peacock and you gotta let him fly. I thought Dalton Castle was gonna make that reference here, but I was highly disappointed that he didn't. Perfect. I think it would have made sense. You know, he's a peacock, you gotta let him fly. Would have been fantastic if Dalton said that. And so Jericho basically accepts Dalton Castle's challenge, and he says he's gonna pull the peacock's feathers one by one and all honor the Ocho. So next week on the special edition of Tuesday Night Dynamite, we're going to get Dalton Castle versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor title. Then we get Nyla Rose versus Anna Jas. Nyla Rose wins this, and pretty much Jade and the baddies come out and try to take Nyla Rose down as she stole the TBS title from Jade Cargill. So we got Ethan Page versus Isaiah Cassidy. Basically, if Ethan Page won, the private party of Matt Hardy belonged to the firm. Ethan Page getting a win in his home country of Canada. I'm surprised there. I was expecting Isaiah Cassidy to win, but I can understand wanting to give Ethan Page his moment in his home country. And so in the main event, it's a trios match. It's the Pinnacle versus the Embassy. Before the main event, you guys know there's always a promo. And Brian Cage basically says he's got 10 different ways to hurt Shawn Spears tonight. And Shawn Spears says he's the perfect 10 is back. And he's waited 5 months for this. Dax goes on to say he knows tonight is going to be a fight. And they went out and found the perfect partner. Cash saying it. The Embassy may be now, but the Pinnacle is forever. So this match, of course, I'm not surprised with the outcome of this match. My favorite spot in this match was when you had Cash with the sharpshooter to Khan, Dak with the sharpshooter to Brian Cage, and Shawn Spears with the sharpshooter to Prince Nana. So I thought it was a really, really cool spot. But what I liked was that Shawn Spears got the win for his team, hitting the C4 to Bishop, and who comes out at the end? The Kingdom, or OGK, which is Mike Bennett, Maria Kanellis Bennett, and Matt Taven. So their contracts with Impact just recently finished. I know that technically they're still on the show, but you guys have to remember Impact tapes their shows, so they're gonna drop those titles, those Impact tag titles, this week after successfully retaining against Motor City Machine Guns at Bound for Glory. So just keep in mind, like, they're not Impact tag champs right now. They already dropped those titles, and we're gonna see to who they drop the titles on this week's episode of Impact. So Maria says that she's the first lady of professional wrestling, and this company was built on their backs. And then so Bennett and Matt Taven are the Kingdom, and they want the Ring of Honor titles. And the Kingdom attack FTR and Sean Spears, and alongside the Embassy, and then Wardrobe come out. And so with that being said, that concludes this Rampage review. So I'm very curious to see where this storyline goes with the Kingdom. I haven't heard any reports of them being officially signed. I haven't seen a graphic saying that they're all elite, so I don't know if they're actually signed or not. But I'm very curious. I actually became a fan of OGK during their time on Impact. You know, it was nice to have them on there. But now I'm very curious to see what happens with them and AEW. It could be a short-term storyline. They could sign and stay with AEW, so very curious to see here. But it's great that Sean Spears got the win for his team in his home country of Canada. And with that being said, I think I would give tonight's Rampage. I actually like tonight's Rampage. I didn't really have any complaints about tonight's Rampage, but I just feel like it didn't feel like as strong as usual. So I'm also going to go ahead and give Rampage an 8 out of 10. Well, with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continuous support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I'll see you guys live after Monday Night Raw. Bye!